So my name is Andrew Rauch. I'm with FR Companies, and this is Pain to Profits.
Y'all want to get turned? I heard that you trying to go climb to the top. I start from the bottom, it's kind of like putting on socks. Yeah, y'all ready or not? Don't let me get hot, though. Clean like a mop, whole world is shot. This pace gon' knock, this place gon' rock. Y'all ready or not? Ready or not? You ready or not? You ready or not? Pay my dues, punch that clock. You ready or not? You ready or ready or not? You ready or not? You ready or not? You ready or not? Pay my dues, punch that clock. Ready or not? You ready or hey.
What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Pain to Profits. I'm your host, Samson Jagoras, where every week we're unpacking the wisdom and knowledge of entrepreneurs to help you guys save time and level up. And today I'm sitting here with Andrew Rauch of FR Companies. He is an entrepreneur who's been in the game for at least 12 years. So we're going to try to unpack 12 years worth of experience and going from pain to profits in about an hour. So Andrew, welcome to the show, bro. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. So we were just talking offline about just the stellar class that came out of Colorado State University of real estate guys. And that's kind of where your story starts. We're like the same age, 37 years old, graduated in, 2008 basically, and walked straight into the deep end of the pool.
Yeah, absolutely. Scary times.
Which was a major housing recession. But man, who are you? And let's start with the story kind of at the beginning.
Sure. Yeah. Andrew Rauch, FR Companies. Excited to be here today. Who I am as a person, I'm a father. I'm a husband, all around business owner, entrepreneur. Business excites me. It gets me going. On top of that, I like sports. I grew up playing baseball, football, tennis, basically anything you can throw a ball at me, I'm ready to go. Golf is the only one I'm still struggling with. Would learn to.
That's a pastime. It's like a leisure activity. I don't know if it's a sport.
It takes time.
It's a different kind of skill. It's like up there with like playing pool and basket weaving.
Yeah.
You just got to do it a lot.
Sure. Yep. Don't quite have the time for golf yet, but maybe someday. So.
Yeah. Dude, even if I had the time, it's a big commit to go play for like 4 or 5 hours like that.
Yeah, and I'm just not there yet. I don't want to give it 4 or 5 hours in the day yet.
There's so many other things I'd rather be working on or hanging with my family.
Yeah. Yep.
I totally understand that.
Yep.
So did you know that you always wanted to be in this world of like real estate and investing? How did you decide on that was like a career path for you?
What's interesting is I did. I grew up in residential construction. Dad owns an excavation business out of Evergreen, Colorado. Worked on a lot of custom houses, some big houses, and watched him working for developers, building nice homes, and just kind of clicked for me at that level. Yep. Got some good advice from a grandpa of mine. Owning real estate is one of the best ways to wealth.
Yep.
It's not a quick get-rich-quick scheme.
Nope.
It's a long-term play, but it's certainly been rewarding. Absolutely.
That's awesome. So 2008 hits, and you just got to go and kind of like figure out how to make you were just kind of thrust into entrepreneurship, right?
Yep, absolutely. I took an internship that I give a lot of credit to that internship. I was working for free, but the knowledge I gained in that internship was fantastic. It was a really great opportunity.
What was that? What was the role?
So I basically interned in a real estate office. These guys I was working for, Dave Lund and the Sisu brothers at the time, investors, local investors, mostly residential. They would bring me along, teach me about what they were up to. I would be in the back shuffling the paperwork, watching over some of the contracts, basic real estate stuff early on. But I kind of learned how and what they were up to, and finding their way into these deals was fascinating to me. I knew I kind of wanted to grab hold of that and do exactly what they're up to. So.
Yeah, and that's the game, right? It's like learning how the money comes together, how the debt comes together, how to source the deal.
Absolutely.
How do you split up the capital stack and make sure everybody gets paid while simultaneously making it lucrative for you and for your investors? I mean, that's the game. That's the hardest part, is like finding the diamond in the rough to make all those things come together.
Absolutely. And it starts with a passion too. I think if you don't have that passion, it's easy to fall in the background of just participating in the organization and shuffling the paperwork. But I really wanted to, grab the bull by the horns and learn what they were up to. And, there's a lot of freedom in what they were doing too that excited me.
What was the freedom?
They were hard workers, but they were setting their own schedule. I was watching them in early. but then they'd take the middle of the afternoon off to go play basketball or go work on themselves personally, go to the gym,
Right.
and that sort of thing. And it's like, wow, it's not a clock in, clock out situation. It's nobody's watching them, nobody's holding their feet here.
Yep.
These guys are making money, they're living their life and doing a nice job of it. And
I love that.
it's the holistic approach of your life that was exciting to me. So
Yeah, I mean, time's that number one currency that we're all chasing. You just
absolutely.
the more you can get control of it, and I think that a lot of people who go into getting a job or sometimes even entrepreneurship, they prioritize money before they prioritize time,
Sure.
and that's the trade off, right? You got to prioritize time before you can get money freedom.
Yep.
And we're all in it for that, so we can have more time to do the stuff that gives us energy and is exciting, and life is right now.
Absolutely.
So I
Yep.
love that. So you were in that internship. When did you finally decide that, like, okay, I got to go pivot and go do my own thing?
Yeah, so I got an offer to be a broker on a team over at Keller Williams, and another good
Was that
broker,
Justin Morales?
real estate. Yeah, it was Justin Morales and Marcus Valdez, his team at the time, and paired up with those guys over there. They were doing investing, but primarily brokerage. I think that was a good opportunity for me to learn real estate front to back. Those
Yep.
guys are doing a lot of deals, and good opportunity to understand the traditional real estate business. Quickly, I learned it. I understood about myself that I wasn't interested in the sales side of it. I wanted to be on the investment side of it.
100%.
And bridging the gap from not having capital of my own to trying to figure out people with capital that want to partner with me was probably the most difficult thing I've had to figure out. So,
Yeah.
And selling yourself as a, 24-year-old guy that's never done it before, right?
Yeah, and you can't even like lean on experience from like another industry or another.
Nope.
So how did you cross that bridge? Because I think people who are listening to this, maybe have some similar aspirations, or they maybe have a company and they need to go seed it.
Yeah.
Right? And so how do you do that? How do you find those people, and what were some of the things you learned?
Yeah, so my success has come largely from leveraging relationships and partnerships specifically. Offer something that they need, right? So Marcus, he was short on time, but I could offer some time, right? Like I could go seek out the property. I could go see if it was a good deal. I could, run the contract in the background. I could do some of those things that gave him some time that he was looking for. So figure out a partnership that makes sense, and then you do a couple deals together. That gives you traction. That gives you that confidence and validation to then step out on your own and talk the talk and walk the walk.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, the best it was ever explained to me is you need somebody to find the deal, somebody to make the deal viable, somebody to get the deal over the line,
Yep.
somebody to bring the money, and somebody to sell it on the back end.
Absolutely.
So that's 5 split by 100% of whatever the GP equity is on that is 20% a piece.
Yeah.
So
I like it.
That's how it always worked out for me. At least I'd always try to negotiate that. Like, hey, I think mine's worth 20%. They're like, well, I beg to differ. I'm bringing all the money. It's like, okay, well, I'll take 5,
He who has the gold makes the rules.
Yeah, that's so true. So you were doing the investment and development. Like, what did that look like?
So development came later.
Cool.
That was a game that we got into later on in the career. But initially, doing a couple fix and flips and a couple investment deals with Marcus and Dave, got me that confidence. And then I met my business partner, Devin Ferry, at a birthday party. And we just had a lot of similarities, a lot of things in common. We both were in the real estate school and program at the same time, knew of each other, just acquaintances, right? And Devin had been a little successful in his own right. He had joined another smaller brokerage and had some traction, had some success, but really wasn't enjoying the traditional brokerage himself either.
Yeah.
And so we partnered up and decided that we could make a go of developing a company. And so we partnered together. We were able to pull some family money together on both sides and go after that first investment deal. And
which was what? What was
yeah,
that first?
so the first one we did together was over on Pepperwood Street in Fort Collins. And by the time we realized we lost $30,000 on that first deal, we were 4 deals in and we were off and running.
Yeah.
And bookkeeping wasn't our strong suit at the time, but we were full of motivation and energy and excited about the path we were on. So
yeah, I mean, and when you're doing enough volume, like, you're going to take an L on a couple deals, and
sure.
But,
And we took a few L's early on, and that probably should have stopped us in our tracks, but we kept going. And
you were just dumb enough to think that, hey, we're good at this.
Exactly what it was. Yep. Because, we got a few things right. We had a high standard for what it should look like in the end. And I think when you're renovating houses, there's money you need to spend, but then there's money that you don't.
Yeah.
And that was where we made mistakes, is we spent the money we needed to, but then we went above and beyond, and we're like, oh, it'll help it sell. And it's like, well, it was already going to sell. Now you just spend another $10,000 on the appliance package.
Yeah, it's like knowing what to do. It's funny, I was talking with my wife. She's innately a creative. And so, I think one of the parts of entrepreneurship that we don't talk about is just, it is a creative process. Like, there's a lot of you have to go bang your head up against the wall a little bit and learn, like, okay, that works, that didn't work. We made money here, we didn't make money here, and allow yourself space to be wrong. Forgiveness.
Sure.
We've had another guest on here. He talks about the difference between perfection and excellence. Right? Perfection is you got to be perfect. You can't make a mistake. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Excellence is like, hey, I can make a mistake, I can forgive it, and I can move on and learn from it. And that's a good place to kind of live as an entrepreneur. Embrace the creativity of it, man, and like fail forward.
Sure.
There are no profits without going through the pain first,
Yeah. Yep.
What were some of the biggest we'll call them memories of mistakes that you made in those first couple of years?
The memories were actually good ones.
Yeah.
You
just wipe out the bad.
Yeah. Well, thinking about some of the big time wins, like we, obviously when we got to, running the books and realizing we lost money, like those are down times,
Sure.
right? We're questioning ourselves, wondering if we're on the right path, that sort of thing. But I can recall a time where we were, one of 30 bidders at the Greeley auction one day. And we knew about a cell tower deal that was at this commercial property. And everybody there was there to bid on this property. But nobody knew about the contract that was in place with this cell tower. And we did. And we ended up being the high bidder. And we ended up getting the property, and it was fantastic. And we sold the rights to that contract a couple years later for $150,000 and
Nice
ended up keeping the commercial property. So we just sold the license to use the cell tower. Fantastic deal. That really kickstarted our career. We gained a lot of momentum, and it was great because we did a ton of due diligence, obviously more due diligence than anybody else did on the property. Obviously, it was a hot property.
Right.
10,000 square feet, commercial building. We still own it today.
Wow.
And got it almost paid down to nothing, and it brings in good income. And so stuff like that, just that keeps you moving forward. You got to have those lucky big wins once in a while, because you are going to have some L's along the way.
100%. So you're married, you have kids too.
Yep.
Where do you meet your wife in this journey? Have you guys been together for a long time? Was it college or something?
We actually met in high school.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, later years of high school. And I went to college initially to play baseball.
Okay.
Junior
at CSU?
No, I did end up playing at CSU a little bit, but junior college down at La Junta, Otero was the school.
Cool.
And realized quickly that was not going to be for me, and did fine with the baseball aspect, but it really just wasn't the path I wanted to be on. So transferred to CSU, and Becca was at CSU. We really hit it off through college, and been together ever since.
So that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
How does she feel about entrepreneurship? And
she's my biggest cheerleader. Absolutely. Yeah, she's always seen that in me, and we talk about it a lot. She's always the rock. She's the person that allows me to take risk.
Yeah.
She's got the, physical therapy job. She's a highly educated person. Does okay in her career. She's a fantastic mother. She loves healing people as a physical therapist, and she can always run out and get a good job at a moment's notice. Anybody that has her is happy to have her, and she's a fantastic employee and mother, and allows me to do what I'm doing and just be that rock for us.
Yeah, it's so important to, I think just going into entrepreneurship, we're just wired differently.
Yeah.
My wife, she's much better now. I'd say she's way more entrepreneurial than she used to be, but she's craved a little bit more security in the day,
Sure.
But she's always always held me down and kept me grounded, and she's not afraid to check me when I need to be checked, and she's always there to build me up, and so it's invaluable. And a lot of our listeners who are listening to this are married entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs, and how do you guys make sure that you're just staying strong and growing together, and what's your secret sauce?
I think we're pretty open with how we're feeling in that moment.
Yeah.
And I don't think either one of us harbor negative feelings very long. I think it's important to talk about what the issues are.
Yep.
And if one of us is feeling a certain way about something that's going on with our family, we need to address it right away.
Yeah.
And I think if you talk about, what's the special sauce, I think that's it, is open and complete communication.
100%. And that's just a leadership quality too. I'm sure that carries over into your business, right? Like,
absolutely.
Radical transparency and open candor is the key to any healthy organization, let alone your marriage and your family. So
yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
I love that. So you guys are now doing, fast forward, you've been doing developments, you were doing, we'll call it fix and flips.
Mm-hmm.
Then you're moving into developments, and then you're buying larger commercial properties. But now you guys are in the franchising space.
We are. Yeah. And interesting opportunities present themselves all the time, as you know, as an entrepreneur.
Got to be in the game to get them, though.
Exactly. Yep. But going back really quick, just talking about how we got into home building. We were flipping a lot of houses, having some success with that. Had an opportunity to buy a few lots in Fort Collins, and we looked at each other and we're like, well, let's look at going ground up with this opportunity.
Yeah.
And we found somebody that was going to land bank for us, and we could put together a little company and bring on some talent that had some building experience, which allowed me to then get my general contractor's license.
Got it.
Kind of piggyback that experience, right? If you don't have that experience, you need to figure out how to bring that experience to you and join you.
Right.
And it was a good opportunity to bring in a gentleman that knew what he was up to. And we ended up, building 53 houses and having some dashing success out of that subdivision. And after that, we were halfway through that subdivision, got involved in a couple more subdivisions. Little did we know that they weren't all going to be smashing successes like the first one. And, unfortunately, we made some difficult decisions after that. But, it was a good ride in home building. We built over 350 houses in the last 10 years.
Damn.
And it's been fun. And I wouldn't say we're setting it down entirely, but I think it's a tough business right now. And the small to medium regional builder is just getting pinched on margin. And so
100%.
Looking for other opportunities. And that's where we are today, is, doing a little bit of a pivot with our company and our company equity into, okay, what are the opportunities? Our core competency has always been, we're going to actively either build houses or have some operating businesses that funnel our profits and proceeds into long-term assets and holds.
Let's go.
And it's always been two-pronged. That's always been the initiative. And that has never changed. What has changed is what we're doing day to day. How are we going and getting it, right?
Yep.
So if we're not putting houses on the ground, which I think we got tired of, it's like, okay, what are we going after that's going to facilitate our long-term goals and dreams?
Dude, that's so good. I have a similar philosophy on that. Like, I think there's this misconception like people are going to go and be like real estate syndicator or something like that, and they're going to build all their wealth by like just raising money, JVing deals, or putting deals together.
Sure.
It's like, sure, you can,
Mm-hmm.
but the people that are really making money, they have this entrepreneurial cash cow.
Sure.
And they're just making money doing their thing, building homes or whatever it may be. And then they're plowing into stable cash producing assets that long-term generate revenue and perpetuity, tax depreciation, and legacy wealth.
Yes.
And that's the game.
Yep.
I love that.
Yeah.
Was that always clear to you, or is that something that kind of evolved over time? Or
yeah, it was to me, and I think it rings true to Devin as well, is, and going back to like some of those conversations with grandparents at the time, real estate is the way, right? And it's always stuck with me. It's what made me get into the real estate program at CSU, but not necessarily on the sales side. It's really on the ownership side.
Yep.
And that's what's fueled us from day one.
I love that. So what are the two brands that you guys are currently involved in with franchising?
So we are with Ziggy's Coffee and then another company called Crisp and Green.
Is Crisp and Green a newer concept?
It is. Yeah. It's Minnesota based.
Okay.
And it's very new. It's almost a startup. But,
Yeah.
we don't like to compare ourselves, but it's similar to the concept of Sweet Green, if you've seen Sweet Green in the market.
Or Let Us Go, I think is another one.
Let Us Go. Yeah, I haven't heard of that one, but
California, maybe.
Okay. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so this is my question. What the heck makes you settle on that one? The Ziggy's model, I know that it's more of like an efficiency coffee shop kind of style thing.
Yep.
They're killing it, blowing up. I think I just saw an announcement. They sold their first few out of state.
Yeah. I mean, they're nationally known now. I mean, they're going to be in every state here pretty quick.
So
but
cool. Colorado grown, right?
Colorado, yeah. Brandon Knutson and his wife started the company 15 years ago.
Berthoud?
Loveland. Or I'm sorry, not Loveland, Longmont.
Longmont. Okay.
Yeah, and they reside in Meade, and their new headquarters is in Meade. And
Which I've seen that. It's badass.
it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's super awesome.
Yep. Really great guy, great concept, great leader, and we're happy to be a part of it, and interesting opportunity. We didn't just decide one day that we're going to jump into franchising. We had a plot of land in Wellington, and we were door knocking anybody and everybody. We were trying to sell lots.
Right.
We were trying to develop this parcel in Wellington, and we had a perfect drive-through pad. And we door knocked every coffee concept in Northern Colorado. We talked to Starbucks, Dutch Bros, Human Bean, and everybody agreed. And it was Brandon that we talked to that was like, yeah, this is going to be a win, but why don't you guys want to do it? And we're like, well, what do you mean? And he's like, I think you guys should keep this plot of dirt and, build the Ziggy's yourself. Exactly.
Smart.
Yeah.
He knew a business he was in.
Yeah.
He was a franchisor.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So he talked us into it, and we're so happy that he did, because it did fantastic year one, and had a little dip in year two. I think, coming out of COVID, there was some supply chain issues and things like that made it difficult. But, that spiraled into 7 more commitments in Northern Colorado. So we've got 2 stores open and 5 more in development and construction in various phases of that program.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So do you guys fund those similar to how you would do like a development where are you leveraging third-party equity? Is it your own money? How you do those deals?
Yep. So we are leveraging some mezzanine debt. So we've got a group of investors on board that have loaned us money for years, and simple interest. They believe in what we're up to. They trust us. And so that will get the project going.
Yep.
And then we've, over the years, we've had some banking relationships that come in and knock out that higher mezzanine debt.
Cool. Dude, I love that.
Yeah.
And then you guys are left with all the equity because it's just debt, or is it like debt on a convertible note? Or
Well, a lot of times when the project gets done, it's going to appraise for more, which is great. And so you're left there with the spread at that point. So,
yeah, that's awesome. And then Crisp and Green.
Crisp and Green.
How many of those you got?
Yeah, so we have 2 stores open there. And once we decided that franchising was something that we wanted to get our hands around, and going back here, we built a tough business. Construction is a tough business.
Dude, I know.
We ballooned to 30 employees. We had excavation in-house. We had framing in-house. It was a big company, and it was done largely by trial and error.
Yeah.
And so we looked to franchising. We're like, oh, you can get a playbook for this business. This is plug and play. And to guys that were experienced business owners, are like, oh yeah, all the confidence in the world. Give us the playbook. We can execute.
100%.
And that's where we decided that, placing equity in franchising made a lot of sense for us.
Do you ever feel hamstrung by the
all the time
franchise?
Yep, all the time. Absolutely. Creative marketing is a big one. We feel like we get placed in a box with what we want to do.
100%.
Each concept's different. With Crisp and Green, we jumped on that opportunity. We saw it had great traction in Minnesota. They're doing fantastic financially. They've got a great leadership group.
Yep.
And we had the opportunity to, by and large, own the state of Colorado, which opens up a lot of doors and a lot of things we can do. We can market ourselves. We can promote ourselves. It benefits us, and it doesn't benefit the coffee shop down the street with different owners that could be running their shop completely differently than we are.
Right.
We own the market, and so we can dictate what we want to do in it with that brand. So,
yeah, that's the hard part for me about franchising is the limitations on what I can and can't do.
Sure.
But I know the stats though. The stats are the average business to start up from scratch to get it to like a profitable and running company is like $1 million, where the average franchise is about 500,000. And you're literally getting a book that's a playbook. That said, people take that way too far and they just assume that all franchisors are created equally. And so there's definitely some things that you should probably be looking at to make sure that you're buying into the right franchise. What are some of those things that if I'm somebody who's listening to this and thinking about, hey, this might be my path out of the corporate world into my next gig, that I should maybe be asking that I don't know I should be asking?
That's a great question. And I think if I were to go back and look again, understanding the FDD, the franchise disclosure document, really, and then how it applies to your local market. They'll give you the numbers. They'll show you the success.
Right.
That's publicized and it has to be accurate. It's scrutinized. How does it relate to your actual local market? Because that's where you're going to be doing business.
Right.
Some of those store opening costs, construction costs, staffing costs, some of those things are variables. Just because the FDD lines it out for you on what it should do doesn't mean that's what it's going to do.
Right.
And so not only understanding the FDD, what does that FDD look like in 2 years when inflation goes to 8%, right?
Right.
So yeah, just understanding what you're trying to do in that moment, but then what does it look like a couple years down the road?
Yeah, and that's very similar to real estate too, right? It's just like the way that you underwrite taxes in Texas are materially different than the way that you underwrite taxes in Colorado.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like the way that you think about rent growth in Texas versus Colorado is just different.
Yep.
And then it goes one step further down to the submarket, right? And so, yeah, those nuances apply. I would also say that just it's important to have a really clear understanding of what actual support you get at the corporate level. And we actually had somebody that came on the pod who bought into a franchise and just it didn't work out. Let's just put it that way, right?
Oh, okay.
Which was cool. It was actually a great story. I commend him for coming on and just like putting it all out there and be like, yeah, we didn't make it. But the number one thing that I noticed was there was just like an unrealistic expectation for how quickly they were going to get to revenue. And when I just started asking questions about what the OpEx was, it was like, man, just your overhead carry on employees is like, and rent is like $20,000. So you need to do this many people a month. I'm like, man, how do you do that? What was your plan for marketing? You know, it's like, it's tough. So you got to know the numbers on the math. The unit economics are crucial to being successful.
Absolutely.
In the franchising space. So know your math. You might even hire a franchise consultant to come with you and like support you through that and through the buying process, because damn, man, it's going to cost you one way or the other. You're going to learn one way or the other. That's for sure.
It's not for the faint of heart. And I can tell you right now, we're living that currently with that concept.
Interesting.
Haven't turned a corner on profitability or considered ourselves successful on that brand. However, I think what we have done well is we've executed that playbook and we've been able to hire very successfully. And so, again, going back to what do we lack in expertise? Who do we need to bring on? And what can we afford to bring on that will help us along with our journey?
So good.
We found a fantastic real estate, of course, restaurant guy. Brought along a guy named Tony, who's ran restaurants his entire life.
Yep.
He's been in the franchise model. He's been in the independent restaurant model. Knows back of house, front of house operations. He's just been living it his entire career.
You need that dude. That dude's
and we
invaluable.
did. We found him and we plucked him from another concept and we said, hey, you're coming with us. And he was happy to do so. He was looking for a career change, kind of in a rut and looking for an adventure and saw that in us. So, and here we are. So
that's awesome. I think it's also a couple things that are resonating with me are just, finding the right people, knowing your weaknesses. I think that's one of the biggest keys as an entrepreneur is like, dude, you got to be honest with yourself. Like, where are you good and where are you not good? And it's okay to not be good at everything. And that's a huge misconception, I think, for entrepreneurs is like,
yeah, I
got to be the best at finance and I got to be the best at product and service and marketing. And it's like, no. Stay in your lane, know what you're good at, backfill the rest.
Yep.
So I love that. Are there some of those lessons you learned? I think one of the things that I saw just kind of in your pre-pod interview was just in and around building culture and finding the right people and getting people in the right seat. You were talking about how you grew really quickly.
Yeah.
And experience, not getting the right people on the bus and not getting
Absolutely.
people in the right seat. And so what's some of the wisdom that you learned from that experience?
Sure. Yeah. Growth is a great thing, but being very strategic with who you bring on and who you surround yourself with within your company.
Yeah.
Because you can have all the success in the world. It doesn't mean anything if you show up and you can't stand the people you're around every day. And so we learned that lesson the hard way. We grew, we were having great success in home building and development. And, we brought in a framing group, excavation, and salespeople, extra finance people. And, everybody's got their own agenda, right? Everyone's showing up for a reason, whether it's financial or other.
Right.
And they may not align with you and how you are as a person. And the lesson we learned was, we brought in talent. They were fantastic at their job, but it came with a whole bunch of crap, right? It came with a whole bunch of people problems and situations that we had to deal with that were outside of our business.
Yeah.
It's like, I can't believe we're even talking about some of these things we're talking about in the office
Such
right
a
now.
waste of energy.
Oh, it's terrible.
Yeah.
We're not moving forward. And so great lesson for us to learn, because we've been very strategic. Going back to saying, we've hired successfully, that was first and foremost.
Right.
It's like, okay, let's find somebody that fits our company culture. Then let's make sure they can do their job. But it wasn't, let's make sure they can do the job, then find somebody that fits.
Yeah.
We need both, but step one and then step two.
Yeah, I've experienced it before, hiring at a clip of 150 people a year at one point.
Ooh, wow.
And it's kind of like a Trojan horse. It gets inside of your organization and you don't even realize it. And then before you know it, it's like taken over,
You're exactly right.
And
exactly
you're like, what is happening? Like, they're talking crazy stuff that I don't even agree with.
Yeah.
And so I agree. Nobody's going to send you a bad resume. It's like asking for a referral. It's like, let me call 3 people that hate my guts. I'll send them right over. It's like,
Sure.
that never that worked. So nobody sends you a bad resume. So the resume is kind of like when you get an offering memorandum from a broker, you just, in the underwriting, you just throw it in the trash and you start from scratch. It's like, what am I trying to figure out right now is, do they align with my core values?
Yep.
And do they have the intangible skill sets that I can't teach them? I always hired for humble, hungry, smart, gritty, competitive, and personal accountability. And then the soft skills that would align with the position. Like, it's sales. They're charismatic. They have great communication skills. Okay, awesome. Now let's talk about your experience. I'm going to make sure those 2 things line up.
Yeah.
So that's just invaluable lesson. And I think the other thing that I drew out of that is just accuracy before speed.
Exactly.
Like, know what you're looking for.
Yep.
Go slow to go fast, because in the end, you don't really actually go faster. It slows you down so much, and you end up having to cut people and reorg the company and do these things all over. It sucks.
Oh, the unwind is painful.
It's almost worse, because then the material blowback, like you fired this guy because he doesn't totally align, but they're friends. So then that guy leaves too. And it's just like, oh my gosh, this sucks.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Yeah. We operated on the ready, fire, aim for many years. and critical decisions are so important, and finding the right person that fits your company culture is a critical decision.
100%. So how do you guys source talent today? Because I think that's probably an entrepreneur's number one investment. And I have conversations all the time where people are like, man, just, good people that like to work are hard to come by. And so my thesis on that is they're not really good at sourcing talent, but I'd be interested to know what yours is.
Yeah, I think just, you got to get out there on every platform, right?
Yeah.
Like, get out on Indeed, Monster Jobs, like all those platforms, like, get out there, show people what you're offering, sponsor your ads.
Yes.
And, be optimistic, have good energy around finding good people.
Yep.
Good energy finds good energy, I believe. So, it'll come. We found some really good talent in a very tight labor market. And
but you just said something though that's like, so this should be the aha moment for everybody listening right now, which is you actually invested in a marketing strategy to attract talent by way of generating leads into the pipeline.
Yep.
Just like you would if you're trying to get customers. And
Absolutely.
that's what everybody's doing wrong, right? Is they're not doing anything to attract talent. Like they're not leveraging any of the modern platforms. And then on top of that, they're not doing a good job of I call it showing behind the curtain.
Sure.
Like, people want to know what they're getting into before they get into it. So I've always gone with hey, here's what the salary is going to be. This is what the commission structure is. This is how the earning potential actually looks. If that doesn't align with you, you don't align with the core values, you don't align with this job function and what the expectations are, don't even apply.
Sure. Yep.
And people appreciate that.
Yeah.
And then the only people that come through the funnel are people that actually want to be there, right? So you get to the same place. You know?
Sure. Being transparent's huge.
100%.
Yeah.
What are some of the, obviously we talked about some of them, but what are some of the biggest pain points and roadblocks and challenges that you guys are up against right now?
Well, I think, getting to a revenue level that sustains the business on some of those brands. Ziggy's, we've seen that. It was a tough year with that concept. We're in a development building stage there. Not concerned about that program. We know it's going to work and we're going to be successful with it. Crisp and Green, it's a new frontier for us.
Yeah.
And I think what gives us a little pause is that we're taking on leases, whereas typically we are the real estate guys. We own all of our property on the Ziggy's coffee side.
Yep.
And even if that concept breaks even, we've got a great rental property, right?
Yeah, and you get all that depreciation and
exactly all the real estate benefits that are ancillary to just selling coffee.
Right. So it's like we're not operating at a profit, but look at all this depreciation we can make up for it. We feel good about that.
Yep, absolutely. With Crisp and Green, we were able to purchase one of the properties, but by and large, we're taking large commitment leases, 10-year leases with 5-year extensions in one of the tightest retail markets there's been. I mean, there's plenty of concepts coming out that think they're successful. There's not enough development going on for retail strip centers. And so we're paying top dollar for leases.
Well, dude, your location off of Harmony, I mean, that's one of the highest taxed streets in all of Northern Colorado.
Yep.
So your triple nets are crazy.
Triple nets are high. Yep. Interesting deal there, though. We saw that, again, wearing the real estate hat. We had to take over somebody else's lease, and they were leasing 3,600 square feet. And we said, well, shoot, we really only need 2,400 square feet. And the landlord's like, no, got to take the 36. And we said, well, can we put up a wall and subdivide it, create another bay? Right. And that's exactly what we did. So we're able to take the 2,400 we needed, created a space for somebody else to come in. We found somebody to fill that other area. And now all of a sudden, what was going to be a tough real estate deal for Crisp and Green is going to be a fantastic deal. We got a really low rent, and we were able to get some TI allowance out of it. And that's been an advantage for us. I think.
Do you own the sublease on that?
We don't. That specific location, we do not own, but we are responsible for putting somebody in there, and landlord has to approve it. But that's all approved, and it's going to move forward here in February. So,
dude, that's freaking rad. That's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, there was like a really bougie yoga studio.
Yeah.
In there?
Yep. Really. And it pained me to demo all that stuff out of there. God, I mean, there was fancy mirrors and metalwork, and it's kind of a shame to see that go. I think that was probably a good concept, bad timing sort of thing.
Yeah. Debatable.
Yeah. Who knows?
Well, yeah. Wait. Well, I knew the operator over there, so question marks.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But you can't just throw money at it and build a good business model that way. Not in a tight, 10% margin type business.
Sure.
Like Pilates and yoga studios. So
yeah.
But hey, that's the game of entrepreneurship, right?
Sure.
Not everybody wins.
Exactly.
It's an infinite game,
It is.
One person's pain is another person's profit. So it worked out great for you guys. So
yeah, we'll see. Right? To be determined over there.
What about in your personal life, man? What are, I know for myself, sometimes I struggle to not work so much, and like pick my head up. But what are some of those things that are maybe trappings that entrepreneurs need to be careful of that you've personally experienced, and maybe how you've overcome those?
Yeah, I think it's important to try to remain well-rounded. We're starting a family. We've got 2 young daughters, and it's important that I'm involved in their life, even more so than my business. And so I've put that as priority 1, and then building a business as priority 2. Both are very important.
Sure.
But relationship with my wife and my kids, that always comes first. It has to come first. That's home base. You got to take care of them because nothing else matters.
100%. Yeah. Prioritize that and make that. I use time blocking like a madman on my calendar. And what I started doing is I put what I call no-fly zones.
Okay.
I actually block out time when I'm not allowed to do stuff.
Yeah.
Other than just be with my family and be present. And it helps me.
Nice.
Because my calendar is like this game of Tetris, constantly.
Yeah.
So that's how I manage it. And then I have to get my workout in the morning or it's like not going to happen,
Sure. Yeah. Yep.
Do you work out? Do you exercise?
I do. And I think out of talk about some of the pillars, that's one that's really slipped off with COVID. Was able to do a little home gym, which has been pretty fun. We built a little gym in the basement, and you know, my wife Becca is a physical therapist and a big time runner here in town, and you know, so she put together a little running studio down there with the treadmill and the bike, and
so she's
got
not
all the
slipping.
weights.
She's
not slipping. No, she stays on her fitness game, and it's important to her, and she's dragged me along with it. So I've become a runner because of her. Wouldn't say awesome. I'm as good as her.
Yeah, but, it's definitely a skill.
Yeah,
I know. I ain't built for running.
No, me neither. I mean, 210 pounds doesn't run marathons. So.
How tall are you?
6'2".
Yeah, I wish I could be 6'2".
You know,
I barely am like just at the clip of 5'11".
Yeah, but you got a great beard though. So
yeah, I do. That's the Mediterranean in me. Well, man, we'll land the plane. This has been awesome. Is there anything that I maybe should have asked you that you want to share with the audience about entrepreneurship and their entrepreneurial journey?
You know, this opportunity has been fantastic, and I think I undervalue networking. And so if I were to say anything, it's like, take that opportunity to put yourself out there, go on that podcast, go meet those people, go do the networking, go to the events that maybe make you feel a little uncomfortable, because that's when you grow. As we know, feeling uncomfortable, you grow.
Yep.
It's not always easy, but you know, you meet the right people, you meet the right minded people, and it's always a great opportunity. So thank you for today. And
dude, you're so welcome. If you want to make the entrepreneurial leap, one of the suggestions, my best piece of advice for you is start building that network about 12 months before you're ready to actually fully pull the ripcord.
Yeah.
Because it takes about that long to get going, whether it's creating content, networking on LinkedIn, meeting people, having lunches, having coffee, doing all that stuff. It's going to take you that much time. Don't wait until you decide to take the leap, and then you actually need the network.
Yeah.
You know, so
build that partnership, find out, you know, what that person needs, how you can work together and accomplish a goal.
Well, dude, I appreciate you immensely.
Yeah,
can I invite you to, we have our first of many more to come, Accelerated Leadership Summit coming up January 27th, specifically for our entrepreneur community of, you know, people that are in the Pain to Profits newsletter, as well as here in Northern Colorado, which was where my home base is. And we're just bringing you guys together. We're pouring into you. We got 4 speakers lined up. We got the Lord's Chicken. We got Chick-fil-A coming.
Okay.
Free Chick-fil-A.
Love some chicken. That's great.
And maybe we should have a conversation about getting some Ziggy's coffee.
That'd be fantastic.
Would you guys be interested? Maybe sponsor?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. We'll sponsor Crisp and Green. We'd love to salad drop that thing. So.
Let's go. A salad drop. I'm interested.
Yeah. Free salad.
It's
awesome.
About
getting the product in people's hands, getting them to try it, eating healthy. You know, if we can get people to try it more than twice, usually they're consumers, you know, they're buyers.
I love it. Well, man, I appreciate you immensely.
Likewise.
And I can't wait to have the next one, and I'm looking forward to just the beginning of our friendship.
Likewise. Yeah, cool.
Andrew, man, thanks. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate you.